Scotsman rang his son, who was in London, just before Christmas. And he said, your mother and I are getting a divorce. 45 years of misery is enough, and we can't stand it anymore, so we're getting a divorce. And the son was furious. He screamed, "What? You're not going to get a divorce? I'm going to tell my sister about you. You can't do that." And the man said, the Scotsman said, "Well," he said, "we can't stand the sight of each other anymore. We're sick of each other." And he said, "And I'm sick of talking about it, so you'll have to let your sister know." So the son rang his sister, who was in Leeds, and said to her, "Mum and Dad are getting a divorce." "What?" she said. "That's impossible. We won't allow it." So she rang her father and she abused him and said, "What do you mean getting a divorce? Myself and my son are coming down and just straighten you both out." So the father, the Scotsman, put his phone down and said to his wife, "Well, that's settled. They'll both be here for Christmas and we don't have to pay their fare." But switching from that now, it's very ironic, isn't it, that in this gospel today, when Christ knows that his passion is approaching, when his disciples are preoccupied with themselves and their fulfillment, he picks a child to try and bring home to them how that they should live. And we are in an age when the scandal of a few of our leaders in the church has been a terrible blow to the church and to many of us, that they should interfere with children. And yet Jesus focuses on a child to get through to those disciples and to us the value of children. See, in the time of Jesus, from the documents we know, children were the possession of their parents. They could be bought or sold, or anything could be done. No one had rights over them, and the children had no rights whatsoever. They could be traded off as slaves. And that was the thing that happened. And also, no one could touch a child of a family unless you were a family member. So the children were special in those days of Christ. And I'm not saying they're not special today. I'm just telling you the culture of the time. So when Christ took a child and held it close to him, he was breaking the law of the land. He was causing anguish to the parents, and yet he was trying to teach his disciples. And that, he said, you must become, as he said, like a little child, and not be self-promoting or people who want to push themselves always, but people who think of others and try to work in a simple, humble way in your family and amongst your friends, but not be egocentric, not be a person who has to promote themselves all the time. And you meet people like that. They talk about themselves all the time. You can't get a word in sideways. And it's always because it's about them, about me. And Jesus is saying, this little child is innocent. It hasn't learned the hard lessons of life. It's just there as God made it. And it tells them that they have to be simple in the eyes of God too. Not pushing themselves forward, not manipulating people, not telling deceitful lies, not trying always to keep themselves focused as the centre of attention. And it's a simple message, and it's really broken his heart when he's talking about his imminent suffering, and all his followers, that's you and me, can talk about as themselves, and what they're going to get out of it when the great kingdom comes. So that's humanity, and that's what it is. We've all got our problems, we've all got our inherent weaknesses, but above all we've got Christ within us, and we've got Christ helping us with his grace and Holy Spirit. And that raises us above our weakness. And that's what it's about. It's relying on him. That's why the Eucharist is so important to us, because he comes to each of us, and he comes to be intimate with us as his children, as it were, to pour his grace and his hope and his strength upon us. So we are blessed people living in a difficult age, but always the light is Christ, and light of Christ is in you, and it burns, and it supports you, and it guides you, and it encourages, and it offers hope.